where we will continue with the drawing of Zane. I think we left off with this one on Thursday because Friday was tutorials. Yeah, I think that's correct. Um, so again, I always forget where I left off. So this morning I kind of worked on a few of the stuff again. I finished the hair and the arm. So for now I'm just going to try and work with this arm. I did the shading for this side. If I turn off the sketch, you can see the shading is already planned for the shirt. My problem at this moment is I don't really know what to do with the right arm, because this pose is supposed to be Zayn referring to himself, kind of doing something like this, but I did realize I put the left hand a bit more to the side than I would like it to, so the right hand doesn't really fit into his chest. Or if I were to do it like that, I guess we should find the symmetry here. Using the other hand as reference. Most likely it could work, but the forearm is going to take a lot of weight up the upper arm. So we can, I feel like today is going to be a bunch of just trial and error and experimentation. So especially with the arm, because I can't really move on to anything else before I figure out the arm. So if I can manage this, then cool. If I can't, we're going to have to try and figure something else. There's this little piece of the arm that always throws me off a bit. It's I'll just draw it somewhere else. So between, let's say this is the forearm, this is the upper arm, there's this little muscle that kind of goes like this. So when the arm bends, and it's usually easier to see on somebody that's a little bit more, let's say, built, kind of, do you see that muscle popping up there? Let's just bend the arm a bit more to get the and with that muscle popping up there, what usually happens most of the time is it kind of covers up the elbow. So if you look at this example of what I drew here with Zayn, for example, that muscle would basically be that. I did pull it a bit to the extreme here, but just get the point across. I'm just going to undo this because the layer I drew it on. Probably wrong layer.
That's how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, it's just Mondays being Mondays, I guess. Yeah, I think I'm managing this one pretty well at the moment. Well, that elbow is a bit skew, I would say. Again, the most tedious part of this whole process is just going to be trying to figure out the fingers. So I know this looks very messy, but trust me, it's part of the process. In all honesty, if I have to be kind of frank with you guys, it's not supposed to be this messy, but it's just me again. With art, just do what works for you. I believe art is a form of expression, so just express yourself the way you feel like it. That's why there's so many, I want to say, types of art styles. It's just people expressing themselves. And I think that's somehow also one of the reasons I get so mad at modern art and the way they think and stuff. Because to the critiques and everyone like that, art isn't art unless it has some significant meaning behind it. I'm so glad you guys are here to witness my struggle with this tablet. At least now I know I'm not going crazy. I'm going to do is trying to go symmetrical with the fingers and see if that kind of helps me. Oh, that's a bit big. I think I can get away with the way it looks, but I'm not really happy with that. I'm gonna try and tune it a bit. This is a trick I can talk about when doing knuckles. It's kind of like square, and depending which hand you're using, let's say it's your left hand, then the middle finger is almost kind of like a triangle, and the ring finger is almost like a circular shape. So then you just kind of have to even it out a bit, because obviously your hand is not going to actually be that shape. What you're going to be left with is something like that. Again, you just probably should even it out a bit. Maybe fix that curve. Because the problem I'm having here is there's not really that curve. And the fingers don't necessarily have to be connected to it. And again, it's the same problem. Usually when I draw fists, it's just the angle that's throwing me off a bit at the moment. can't get away with that bump that happens on the fist. And sometimes when the hand is spread apart a little bit more, I'll show you in a moment. So imagine this is more or less how a fist is supposed to look. You can kind of get away when you draw it a certain way, because as you can see with my fist at the moment, the fingers doesn't really go between the knuckles. There's a little bit of a gap between the end of the crevice of the finger and the knuckles, that line there. So it's not completely like this. Kinda have that gap in between here. And if you draw it from a certain angle, sometimes your fingers show that direction because the knuckles isn't flat up. There's a little bit of a bump there. And that is what I was trying to do, but it didn't work as well as I thought it would. So yeah, I kind of expected this to happen. I look at my own hand as reference. You kind of get a bit of a oh. I should use the same as a reference, but it doesn't really matter because kind of get the same shape thing going on. But what is supposed to happen now is the fingers are supposed to kind of follow the shape of the knuckles. So you kind of do have that curve, which basically means all of them kind of have to, except yeah, okay, let's say maybe the middle finger also, they kind of have to extend upwards a bit. For this position they're a bit low. So this one, for example, is going to go this direction, that direction, and this direction. which I'm not really a fan of because they're not really spread that much as I would like it to be. But you know, since I'm using my own reference, my hand is a reference, beggars can't be choosers. Oh, Rochelle just dropped in. Sorry if I didn't see you earlier. Hey Rochelle. Rochelle, sorry. Today's chat is going just to be a little bit boring since we're talking about the process of drawing our main protagonists. I don't know if how many of you guys ever noticed, but people usually do have a bit of a webbing between the fingers. Just going to make this finger a bit longer. To be honest, I didn't think I'm going to succeed in it as much as I did, but we kind of did manage to figure out the hand a bit. Yeah, so now the thing is, just making sure with the hand that it connects properly with the elbow that's going down, and that I actually put the elbow on the correct place, because it seems that I didn't. I'm just gonna have to, in my mind, just recreate the skeletal structure for the arm, because the arm does have, I forgot the names of the bones, but there are two bones in the arm that go down. But I mean, you can feel your own arm if you want to. And the purpose of the two between, why there are two bones, is because in this pose the bones are as they are here, but if you twist them, they kind of overlaps with each other. If you twist your arm like this, that's the normal pose, but if you twist it, it kind of overlaps. So this little piece moves over that, so the bottom point stay the same, and this one generally two, but this one would cross over. And the reason I'm drawing the skeletal shape of the arm is just to more or less kind of figure out where the elbow is going to be. So yeah, at this point they're going to cross a bit. So the elbow is going to be more or less here. Especially if I just feel where my elbow is. So he's going to kind of climb up this space, and because of the muscle we talked about earlier, there is kind of going to be a bit of a smooth transition this side, but because of that other muscle there's going to be a little bump here, indicating that yeah, there's kind of a muscle there. Just gonna reselect my blue and work over that. Probably don't need to. We can maybe put in a little line somewhere. I'm just gonna erase this bottom layer because we don't really need that anymore. We just use it to kind of figure out where the elbow needs to go. Actually, I did mess up. The elbow is going to be a little bit more on this side, but it's okay. It's an easy fix. Also, this is going to be a bit tricky because we now have to kind of use the shape of the hand to kind of so I just want to round it out a bit because if it's too flat then it doesn't quite look as right as we want it to, even though anatomically speaking it's not 100% correct. Also because of the placement of the elbow, I don't think you're actually going to see the elbow, but you are most likely going to see this muscle popping up because the elbow is kind of going to follow the flat side of the hand and show up at the back of this arm, but just to kind of, you know, indicate there's something going on, we are just going to draw that bump where that muscle is supposed to go. So as you can see with this arm of Zane, his shirt isn't completely flat at the elbow. It's kind of, I think you can say, a bit rolled up, just a little bit. So I'm going to do something similar here. And I'm going to make it look rolled up. Again, I did talk in a previous video about how fabric and cloth work, where if you lift up your arm, it kind of pulls on the bottom part, and it kind of, the material wrinkles at the top. Sorry if you couldn't see that on the webcam. I'm kind of sitting in a bit of a weird position. So what is most likely going to happen is all of these are going to be pulled from the top. Or heading to the top direction. Maybe the bottom ones not so much, but there's still going to be a bit of a pull towards that direction. Yeah, I think I probably should kind of make the arm a bit bigger. It seems a bit small. Especially compared to the hand and the other arm. Okay, I feel more comfortable with that. Just even out a bit. Yeah, I think that looks somewhat better. I'm happy with that. Okay, actually now I feel we're ready to go ahead um with the outline. Sorry, this morning I had a little bit of a struggle with the hair. Because I usually do the outlines of the hair separate from the normal outlines. Um, just because that's easier to work with and there's more room for error. So I did that, and after I was finished with the hair, I merged the separate outlines and the separate colors together. I'm just gonna use a smaller outline for the seams of the shirt. Not sure why I decided to adjust the opacity, but sometimes I do get a little bit, let's say Jekyll and Hyde something. The other Daniel just kicks in and do stuff that he's not really supposed to do. So yeah, I'm just following the seams with this. You can see I did the same on this side. Yeah, when you ever draw excuse me, when you draw seams, you should kind of just remember with the sleeves, the shirt is kind of like two, yeah, let's say like this, two pieces that's been stitched together like that. And the only parts that weren't stitched together were the necks, the bottom half, and the sleeves here at the point. Or not the sleeves though. Yeah, you kind of understand what I'm saying, but what happens with the shirt here, the seams are not connected. This is the MTL. But as you understand, this is the back part of the shirt that's been seamed together to the front one. And the sleeve is basically just an open, spread out piece of cloth, and this side they seam to this side, so you get kind of like this cylindrical shape. And when you do have that shape, you have your sleeve. But of course, with the two parts that seam together, you do still have those stitches, and so a sleeve only has one pair of stitches, and where they connect with the shirt is here at the bottom. So you don't really see the seams unless you kind of lift up your arms or whatever. Again, when you're studying art, you don't really have to pick up a book necessary or anything like that. You can even just go on Pinterest or whatever site that you trust and look up references and try to learn from that. You can use your own body and clothing as references, or if you're trying to do some environmental art, because that's something I feel a lot of artists struggle with. Maybe that's just me, maybe that's just my opinion, but for me, that's one of the most difficult things to do. So if you're looking for some inspiration, just open up your window and look outside. Even though you're in a city and you're staring at the building, you can use the cracks in the walls and the paint that's falling off as reference um, for your drawing. There is some tutorials on YouTube, some very good tutorials to help you understand how to do environmental drawings. Unfortunately, I can't really help you with it because I actually still need to study it and try it myself. But if you want to try to do stuff like that, you can go let's say, educate yourself on that. Again, this is also really much depending on where your passion lies. For me, I liked character design, that's why I'm drawing so much portraits and just general poses and avatars for everyone. Sorry, Monday stole my tongue. I'm not used to getting up this early after the weekend. And my brains take like a whole lot of time to kind of settle in. Probably settle in at 4. Get used to the daily routines. And this is something I think most people would agree on they struggle with. I tend to be somewhat of a night owl. I know there's a lot of early birds out there in the world, but unfortunately I'm not one of you. I really struggle getting out of bed in the mornings. Even driving to work, it's difficult keeping my eyes open. It's like I have to convince myself, otherwise I'm gonna get in an accident. And I don't really want that. Okay, I'd say that's done. It's just this little bit that's bothering me somewhat. Just go here. I prefer that to be a bit more of a rounded shape, just to kind of follow the shape of the arm. And then I'm going to take the yellow and just kind of map out where the shading is supposed to go. Unfortunate thing is, when I do start um, coloring, I tend to put down the flat colors first, but then what that does, it's kind of hide me from the shading, hides the shading. So if I try to figure out where the shading excuse me, where I try to figure out where the shading goes, I just have to turn off the layer, the visibility of it, and then turn it on again just to kind of refresh my brain of where it's supposed to go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Just gonna add a bit more. No, I think I shouldn't do that. It would be more productive to do it on the inside and on the knuckles on themselves. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm actually pretty stoked to start with the shirt, but usually, as they say, we keep the pudding for last. So I'm going to do the hand now, I think. The arm at least. I can put it like that. Now's the part that I have to switch on and off and on and off again. Well, unfortunately, the part that I need to redo this bit because I worked on the wrong layer. Yay! The daily small setbacks. Okay. Luckily the eraser has pain sensitivity, so I don't have to worry so much about the size of it. Okay. I'll probably talk a bit of why I did the shading as I did. It's mainly because, again, we think of the lighting. So the lighting doesn't reach the bottom half of the finger or the right side of anything basically. So that's also why I kind of mapped it out that way on the knuckles. I should probably do it on this one as well. I think it's probably just... Yeah, I think that's a little bit more better.
Because it's created like a full AI life.
Okay, cool. We're getting somewhere. And it's starting to look like something. It's just because with that specific brush I can't get a smooth thing like that. So I just basically use the other color to flatten that out for me. There we go. I think that looks good enough. Especially when you look at the grand scheme of things. I think his hands might be a bit small in comparison with his head, but it's a little bit too late to turn back now, I guess. It does look kind of like a bobblehead, especially if I kind of compare him with the new pose I made for him. Just probably going to have to watch out for that in newer poses. Again, something that I just want to bring up to people's attention is sometimes sometimes we worry a little bit too much about the smaller details, and it's those details that nobody even realizes. Because I think when this pops up for a split second on the screen, nobody's even going to kind of notice the head.
Split second.
Split second. But look at your head.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Curly locks.
Luckily, Zane doesn't have any tattoos like Dylan or Devat, so it doesn't eat too much extra time. If you get another tattoo, it's not going to be on your anything that's going to be outside of the shirt, because I'm not gonna redo this. Yeah, but it's going to have to be on your upper arms. Just see your evil bastard. You know what, I think I'm going to do something about this in a moment. I'm just gonna fix or finish the body, and then I'm going to fix the body. So it kind of just fits with the size of his head. Then I'm just gonna finish the patches. Okay. We're getting somewhere in life. it's sometimes a bit tedious and monotonous doing all this. But it's also a bit therapeutic because sometimes just let your mind go and your hand does its thing. You don't think about anything, you just chill. Okay, now I just need to fix the shading. That might be a bit much. Zane, you have any lasagna here? Huh? I'm asking. Not any lasagna, not any curry, nothing. Yeah, I'm not racist, I'm just being realistic. I know you like curry. It's like curry and say bori. We actually did have a discussion over the weekend about this. How certain races just like other stuff more, like white people and cheese. Come again?
I like
Not as much as a white person does. Huh?
real
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I forgot. Your mom's Italian, right? Yeah. Zane's mother is Italian. That's why I likes pasta so much along with curry. Or what do they like? Now Zane's being the one that's racist. Well, can you be racist against your own race? Okay, so you count yourself as a racist then. we're a bunch of racists when it comes to food preferences. Although I think it's less of a race thing and maybe more of a nationality thing. But certain nations do tend to have more of a certain race than others do. Like, have you guys noticed that how much Americans are in America? That's the stupidest, just the lamest joke I've ever made in a long time. I think we got ours now. Oh, Zen, when are you going to go watch the Chainsaw Man movie? Friday. Coming out Friday. I don't know which time it's going to play though. I just swear I'm going to walk out of the theaters once they start barking.
That's okay.
I'm just gonna wait for them to finish and then go back in. you, you actually know that that's not a bad idea considering what's in this movie. Like, I know what happens in the movie because I read the manga, but I think the Gooners are in for a surprise. this playlist also has some it's a bit monotonous or repetitive. I think it's the correct word in this case. Means it's not actually the same song as repeating over and over. It's just like a bunch of songs that sound the same. It almost sounds like a Mario Kart track. Shouldn't have said that. Now Nintendo is going to throw a lawsuit at me. Why are these bigger companies so eager to throw out lawsuits? It's just stingy, man. Stingy. Corporate world is kind of messed up. Yes, the song now I think is, or hopefully is going to be a bit better. Yeah, this one feels a lot better. Yeah, I kind of like this one. I'm like also able to make more of these. Ah, damn it. Okay, now to fix this body problem. Okay, that looks a lot better. Just out of curiosity, I want to see how much. Not that much bigger, but big enough to make a difference. Just little patching up to do. Okay, cool. I think that looks much better. I think the next step would be the skull, and then we're finished with them. And the thing of the skull is, I'm just gonna take green. I need to take into consideration all the wrinkles and stuff that's gonna get in the way. Also, just how the shape is going to deform us. You know, it's just part of the shit's angle. Or not the shit's angle, but the quarter view. Because when you have a circle and you turn it to a quarter view, it kind of turns into a sphere. And if you have something in between, oh no, let's not do that. Now we can actually kind of change into something like that. So that's what we're kind of aiming for. This side is going to be a bit more flat than that side. So yeah, I think that's good enough. The thing that's making this a bit tricky is because I have to dodge the shading, if I can put it like that. Just going to lower the opacity of the green so I can actually see what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm also just mapping out the shading for the skull as well. Where the process here is a bit more different. Sorry, I'm very quiet today. I think it's just me adapting to the new week. I actually even brought a bottle of water from home today because I thought I was going to talk a lot of nonsense again. But it turned out to not be the case. Damn. Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere, I think. Rochelle tells me I'm a lot quieter. Yeah, as I said, I think it's just me adjusting to the new week. This weekend was a bit hectic, if I can put it like that. I was a bit sick and all that, so let's say I'm still recovering. And there's not really much to talk about what I'm basically doing the shading. I can talk a bit nonsense, but Zane, are you busy with something important? Okay, cool. And then I just want to know if I can talk nonsense and not distract you. So yeah, again, I'm sorry for being so quiet. It's just me just adjusting to the week. It's probably tomorrow and Wednesday I'll be a lot more chatty. I think especially Wednesday, since Wednesday is banter with Daniel. So we're going to have fun again and talk about all of mythology and games and whatever fun topics you guys give me to talk about while I draw whatever. Actually, this whatever. I'm not actually a bit of the point where I'm not really sure what to draw anymore. Um, Also, I'm wearing my headphones today, so I'm also listening to the music now, and I'm a bit vibing a bit because um, I know the beginning of the playlist. I wanted to skip into a few songs because I feel if each stream starts with the same song and you listen to the same thing over and over and over, you kind of get a bit tired of it all. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to wear my headphones today. I'm going to go through this with you guys. So at some point there was just like a song that I liked, and it's like I started vibing with it. Then I completely forgot that I was on stream. But yeah. Also, I did talk to Dewald earlier today. I said it's a bit. I almost want to say a bit weird that I'm not showing the camera to my face because there's not really a lot of point showing it down here to the keyboard stuff because you can't really see what I'm doing on screen, and what I'm doing on the keyboard doesn't really make sense from that angle because you don't really know what I'm pressing, and even if you do know it, the people that draws, they already know what shortcuts I'm using, and the people that doesn't draw, it's just he's pressing a button. So in the future I want to adjust that so that the camera is more on my face, but also as I said previously, I'm a bit camera shy, so I'm working on creating a mask for myself that I can wear, but the design is a bit complicated because I want there to be a lot of uh, air ventilation because it's just generally a difficult design because I want my eyes exposed, I want my mouth exposed, um, just to be more, or just so there is more expression. At the same time, also, the reason I want my eyes exposed as much as I said I want to is so that I can see what I'm drawing. Also, another reason I want my mouth is exposed is just so that there isn't any muffling, because I want you guys to clearly hear what I'm saying. And again, it's also going to have to be a design that I approve of. I'm kind of leaning more towards, I almost want to say, a horror-ish theme, since I think that would fit the channel just much better in general. Since this channel has, or E.I.E in general, just leans more into the horror side of things. Even though it is just comedy skits and stuff made for preteens. So yeah, Rochelle, if you actually have a topic you want me to talk about or any questions, you can actually throw it out there, since you're the one that's told me I'm a bit quiet today. Because I don't mind talking, it's just me just adjusting still a bit. That's all it is. But damn, that's not correct. And generally what I want to do with these Drawing with Daniel sessions is basically just go through the process and explain why I do what I do. But during that process, sometimes some of the steps take a bit longer than we want them to. So there's not really much for me to say. I think with this skull specifically, I'm lucky because there's not a lot of creases and wrinkles that get in the way. The previous pose I did, I think it was the crying pose. That one gave me a lot of trouble because there was some extreme wrinkles and creases going on there since I had him clutching his shirt like this. Also, I didn't actually think I would get this pose correct. I expected something more in the lines of this, but I think this works well. When I'm done with the skull, I'll call Zane over and ask his opinion on it. Yo, Zane. Come quickly here and judge the drawing we did of you. Come check here. If you're satisfied.
Well, it looks good. I like it.
Okay, cool.
Sick. Thanks, man.
No problem. I'll send it to you over in a minute. Also see there's still a bunch of poses that actually need to be redone. Also that's the one we basically just redid. I'm gonna replace him. So we replaced this drawing I just did with, or we replaced this one with this drawing. So yeah, this is the original and this is my let's say redo on it. So yeah, you can let me know what you think of it. I'm happy with it. Zane is happy with it, so I think that's what counts. Yeah, damn, I made some good mistakes here. This hand looks really weird. This one can pass as a hand. I don't know what the hell I did with his face. It looks like a sin. What the hell did I do with this? Like I'm gonna pull up the poses that we still need to do for Zane. That's nothing that we could get rid of. So this is one that needs to be redone. Again, just the shape of the head and the hands itself. What the hell is going on here? Why is it looking like he has a sixth finger? Like, I know this is supposed to be where the finger is going to tuck in, and it's actually just lifted here, but see, again, it's small mistakes like that just ruins the drawing completely. This one can pass for hands. The elbow's kinda icky-ish. The shirt needs the wrinkles and the skull. I don't know if I gave a skull to any of Zane's poses originally. I was supposed to. And the reason I drew him with a beanie was because I started doing these drawings the second week we started here, and it was the beginning of winter, and he wore this greenish beanie the whole time he was here in that specific timeline. So I thought it just like was part of his style, but after that he started wearing it less and less. So I was, you know what, let's just remove the beanie in general. He has long luscious locks. He looks a bit weird again. And what I did here with the eyes also is a bit weird. There's not supposed to be any lines here. Just, you can drag it down if you want, but that line is not supposed to be there. And I didn't really know. I was very new to the digital drawing, and I didn't know the different brushes and how to tackle everything. So the beard looks weird. And again, you do get a bit of facial hair underneath the bottom lip, but in this case the bottom lip doesn't start here. It's supposed to be here, but I understand why I did it there and not here. It's because it looks less awkward over there because of the mouse positioning. If it was the mouth on its own, it wouldn't have been that bad, but again, it probably should have taken a shape from here over to there. And that sharp point should actually be removed. It should actually look more like a square instead of a fat triangle. This pose is one of those poses that just completely need to be redone. I'm just going to look up, because I did specifically, that's not going to work. I just want to pull up a pose I did for okay, Dievod's pose was actually exactly the same as this one. I just actually swapped his head with Zane's. It was exactly the same, and I turned it into this. I think this looks much better than what we had. So I decided with the different poses, for Zane, Dylan and Dievold, I'm each going to do a different stance when it comes to the expressions. So each one of their angry poses or expressions are going to be different to one another. Currently we're just working a lot on Zane's, because the videos he's pumping out is doing a lot of voiceover videos, so he needs more of those characters, and I want to at least pump it up to 5. How many do we have at the moment?
3.
Including this one. Yeah, the gaming, the ones that I read it for you. Including this one, is it 3?
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's the one the intern still needs to do, which you haven't come back to me yet. And then we can do another pose. I think if you want to, we can talk about which one. Oh, that also looks horrific. That's supposed to be the scared pose, but we can actually look at Diewold's scared pose that I did for him. Diewold actually likes this one a lot. He likes to use these in thumbnails and stuff. I think in our current Draw with Daniel thumbnail, he also has this avatar in there along with Dane's scared pose. But yeah, so Zane, the man's gone. Anyway, we're going to have to wait for him. I'm just going to talk about or analyze these. I think this is the one I gave our intern to do. I felt it was the less difficult one from these. Some of these need a major overhaul, like this one. That one also. Everyone that's kind of like forward-looking facial expression just needs to be redone, and all of them look horrific. So you can see what I tried to do with that hand. I kind of did with this one, and you can see the difference it made, or the difference between that one and that one. Again, I forgot to put all the skulls on these. See, his skull's confused, but he doesn't look confused. It just looks like he stole a cookie and is trying to lie to his mom about it. So there's also one we can redo. When Zane gets back, I'm going to ask him which one he wants us to redo again. Again, I think I'm pretty happy with that one. Especially since we managed to fix the body. I do think the Afrikaans word would be kraag. The line around the neck is a bit big now since we kind of made his body bigger so that it would fit with his head, because what we did with him previously just was a sin, if I can put it like that. Also, the skull isn't too far off, which is pretty good, I think. But I actually like to redo this one, since the videos Zane is currently, or the videos he's currently creating is all surrounded about gaming. So I think it would be fitting to use this one at some point. This one and the angry one, just to show his frustration, but again we just basically need 5. for frustration, we can also use this one, I think. Like, hey, the game is, it's so bad, it did this and this to me. Although I think in one of his commentaries he did use this pose. And basically said he was sad because he had to stay up all night to play video games or something in the lines of that. This one we could really have done better. I think the scared one, let's show Diewold's, the one we did for Dylan, looks like this. Also, I never knew Dylan had it, or it's I never realized at that time Dylan had a tattoo on his arm, and when I saw it for the first time, I was like, damn, he has a tattoo, I'm gonna have to draw that. Because a lot of the time Dylan wears formal attire, so we don't really see all his tattoos and stuff. But so there was actually a point where I decided now I want to give him a suit in these drawings, since again he wears formal attire. But then again oh sorry guys, but then again I didn't want him to stand out that much from the rest of us, since we're all wearing this informal clothing with the skull on it, and it's just to, I almost want to say, keep with the vibe. But I think the poses I gave for him and Diewold are pretty good. The only thing that is a little bit bothersome within these poses are the beards. With Zayn's is, I don't want to say very bad, but it's a bit difficult because of how detailed his hair is. He also has a bit of dark hair, so that kind of frustrates me to a little extent because it hides all the smaller details, like that bits of cross hatching I did for him. And again, I'm trying to put effort into these. Like, I think this face fits Zayn's actual face a bit more, where this one, the eyes are a little bit big. It's not that big of a problem, I can adjust them at any time, but that's going to have to wait a bit, I think. Actually, also something I wanted to do was put a little bit of shading on the tongue. I would have also preferred it if I gave the tongue a lighter tone, since nobody's tongue is that pink. If your tongue is that pink, you ate something weird, or you need to go to the hospital pronto to get that checked out. So yeah, just a lighter tone with shading at the back, showing okay, the teeth does have some form of reflection. This one I actually did give the teeth and the gums reflection of shading. Sorry, whenever I said reflection I mean shading. I think the reason I didn't do it with this one is just basically where the light landed. You can see the shading doesn't really touch the teeth all that much like it does with this one. It completely, if there wasn't any light that fell on the lips, this would have totally engulfed the teeth. You can see how it follows that line, and how I put a bit of shading underneath the teeth. So this one is similar to, I think I'm going to have to do similar to what I did with Diewold's, I think it was his angry pose. I was basically just screaming. So it's going to have to be similar to that. What I originally planned to do with this pose was to kind of, instead of having it more like a scared pose, more like a startled pose. And these basic lines that I put here, I know it looks really, really bad, but my thought process behind it was basically like, you know, sometimes you just get, I almost want to say chicken skin, or there's this tingly feeling running down your spine. Something like that. I imagined Courage the Cowardly Dog when I drew this, but it doesn't look appealing in any way, shape or form, so it needs an overhaul. So there's multiple poses I want to redo. Again, this angry one is also part of them. Like, these hands bother me a lot. Why is this hand so elongated? And the fingers also, like, these bumps are supposed to be the bumps on the knuckles and the fingers, but the problem here is the fingers are all equal in length, and that's not supposed to be the case. Also, the thumb is very low. It's supposed to be either the thumb is supposed to be a little bit higher, or the fingers are supposed to be a little bit lower, because the thumb is technically, instead of sitting here, it's sitting here. So yeah, there's a lot of improvement that can be done in this image also. Again with the teeth, the teeth and this little bit of beard here, it's so... Why did I make his nose so wide and I almost want to say flat? That's not... That wasn't necessary on my part. The shading I can't really say much about, except that I probably could have added a bit more this side. But yeah, that's just me discussing a bit of my future plans with these poses. We'll see. Tomorrow we're going to... I have to kind of plan ahead, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to do tomorrow yet. I'll discuss it with Zane and Daniël and them. Yeah, for now I think it's time to end the stream. I thank everyone that tuned in for the stream, and I'll see you again tomorrow. So cheers, have a lovely rest of your day, and I hope to